Today I'll be focusing on a K-drama called Stronger Bong, also known as Strong Woman Bong. It's a rom-com that focuses on a girl with superhuman strength, and the issues that I'll be talking about today are feminism, gender roles, sexuality, relationships, parents' behaviours and expectations, class, the police force and power. Hope you enjoy. The first issue that I'll be talking about are feminism and gender roles. So we'll start with the positives. Only the women in Bong Soon's family have super strength whilst the men are weak. This is a great diversion from the traditional gender norms of the men being the strong ones and the women being the weak ones. Great progression here, we love to see it. Bong Soon also has a job as a bodyguard, which is typically a male-dominated field. She initially does turn this down as she wants an intellectual job, which shows that she's not just brawn, she also has some intelligence and wants to work within that field. However, her intelligence is diminished a bit by Min-hyuk, as he points out her constant English flaws. She always stands up for herself though, and others constantly, which is shown throughout the show, and she's always saving people and helping people whenever she stumbles across any awful situations. Bad thing is the gangster men belittling her when she confronts him from beating up the old man. There's a theme of just looking down on women in the show, but I do think it's a good thing to depict, because then Bong Soon always stands up to these horrible people and she gets her justice. The police also don't believe that a girl could beat the men up, which, to be fair, I can understand why in this situation, because there were quite a few of them and they were visibly stronger and bigger than her. One doctor did suggest that one of the men should be transferred to a psychiatric department because he really didn't think that a woman could have beat him up so badly. I don't particularly like where this doctor's mentality was at, but I do understand that in the context of how many people there were and how badly she beat them up, it can be understandable. I just don't think that he should have maybe taken it that far. Another thing is, by any chance are you a man, is something that Min-hyuk says to Bong Soon. Because she's strong, his immediate thought is that she must secretly be a man. Even if she were biologically a man, she doesn't have any visible muscle or strength, she's not very big, she's quite a small girl. So I don't see how that would make her any more likely to be as strong as she is. A good thing is the older women of the neighbourhood get together to patrol and protect the area from a kidnapper. Bong Soon tells off the man for swearing and threatening a woman who he got in a car accident with. He immediately shut down at the sight of a man, Min-hyuk, and she tells him off basically. She spins him around in a car. It's hilarious, and I think he does apologise, but either way she got some revenge there, which was nice. Gukdu's ex asks Bong Ki out and is straightforward about it. She's quite a direct woman, I'd say. She broke it off with Gukdu because she knew what she wanted and she actively pursued Bong Ki after that. However, this is a thing that we can go on to later, but it is not exactly a great move from her, considering she was already in a relationship and pursuing Bong Ki, but we can discuss that later. Also, Bong Ki says, "Shouldn't a man say such a line?" and they laugh about it, but I do think that this wasn't meant to be like a stereotypical, oh, I'm the man, so I should say where the relationship goes kind of thing, because Bong Ki is not a very traditional man. He is a doctor, he's very healing, he's quite weak, so I think there was probably a joke there, not to be taken seriously. Another bad thing is the kidnapper only targeting women as they are inherently seen as weaker, although Bong Soon obviously does tackle this throughout the drama. Another bad thing is Min-hyuk and Gukdu don't let Bong Soon drink alcohol when they're all together at Min-hyuk's house. To be fair, she doesn't handle it that well. She did rip out a pole from the ground in the club, which was really funny. So I can see why, but if she just has one, you know, there's no reason for her not to at least have a bit. Plus, this is a recurrent theme in K-dramas where the men are like, oh no, my woman can't drink, I'll drink for her. I really don't like that mentality, and I've discussed it in a previous video a bit. But a good thing is Min-hyuk is full of ego, and they both protect each other and are protected by each other. It's very equal terms in that department. Overall, I think it's a very feminist show, and it shows gender non-conforming people embracing characters that don't attribute to the normal stereotypes of men and women, although there are some minor flaws, as there always are. Overall, I think it's good at depicting feminism and changing gender roles. Next up, we'll be discussing relationships within the drama. So, first of all, positive, we have a lot of different relationship dynamics here. Progressive, for the most part. Bong-sun and Min-hyuk protect each other. They are the best example of a healthy couple in the progressive era. Bong-sun's mum is in charge of the family, has the most say in her marriage, monetary affairs and decision making. Jealousy is shown as relatively equal between genders, which, to be fair, in K-dramas is usually the case, because it does create great content. And Min-hyuk allows himself to be vulnerable and sensitive with Bong-sun, which is obviously a problem in the past of toxic masculinity and men being afraid to show their true feelings, but it is shown here, and it's a great example for any men that watch or any women that can help their partners. So a bad thing is the classic, the son is a favourite between Bong-sun and Bong-ki. He is treated way better by the mum, not by the dad, to be honest. I think the dad kind of favours Bong-sun because of this favourable treatment. To be fair, when Bong-sun temporarily loses her power, her mum explains that she's been treating Bong-ki better than her because he is weaker and therefore he needs more care, which is true in a physical front, but she kind of overlooks that Bong-sun has emotional needs and they weren't really being met by her as like a mother that should be caring for her. Also, another bad thing about the relationships here is Bong-sun's parents. So her mother is a borderline domestic abuser. She always kind of hits him, threatens him to give her money. It's not a good example for a healthy relationship. Also unhealthy because the dad has a wandering eye for Guk-doo's mum. I can't blame him. She's pretty and she's also not an abuser that's mean to him, which is something that he's not used to in the relationship. Obviously he doesn't act on it, but she does get jealous of this. And another thing is they're clearly happy when they're apart, especially the dad. He is shown to be celebrating when the mum isn't at the house. And says that he's happy about it. I do wonder why they will still stay together. Maybe it's for the kids, but they're not kids anymore. They are grown adults, and if the parents aren't happy together, then I would suggest that they do break up. But it is difficult. I can understand culturally some places it's harder to go through divorce, so that might be why, or contributing to why. Of course, they might still love each other, but as it's shown in the show, I'm not so sure about that. Another bad thing shown in the relationships, despite Bong-sun's mum controlling the money and making most of the decisions in the family, she doesn't actually work, and she's not even really a housewife. She does cook occasionally, but she's also shown to be making Bong-sun to do most of the preparation and or cooking. Bong-sun has to do a lot of work. The mum is seen as lazy and not powerful. She could have been a good role model, a working, strong woman that Bong-sun could look up to, but instead she's not, and they kind of missed an opportunity with her leeching off the dad instead. Another thing is, before Guk-doo and Hee-ji break up, they both have wandering eyes, him for Bong-sun and her for Bong-ki. They don't really act on this, but Hee-ji does kind of pursue Bong-ki. She goes out her way to go and see him whilst he's at work, asks him out for coffee, and she's kind of leading up to it, I think, flirting with him to see where it is before she breaks up officially with Guk-doo. Isn't the best move, but I can see why you'd want a safety net. Then again, if you're not happy with the relationship, leave. She does, which is great, and they don't technically cheat, but I do think it was kind of an unhealthy relationship in that kind of time. He also didn't spend a lot of time with her. He was also doing police work, which is fair enough because he has a job to do, and as a detective he's very busy, but it's kind of unfair on the relationship, and I can see why she might have felt unhappy. She was very good at saying that it was okay though and letting him go and do his job without making him feel guilty, but I can assume that she didn't feel good about it and neither did he, which is probably another reason why they did break up eventually. A good thing is it's Bong-sun's job to protect Min-hyuk as his bodyguard, but Min-hyuk also saves her twice. They equally care for each other overall and seem balanced in terms of giving and taking. Like I said, they are probably the best dynamic in the show of a healthy relationship that's, you know, romantic rather than friendship, because Bong-sun and her friend Kyung-shin together are so cute and I love it. Another bad thing is when Kyung-shin disappears and Bong-sun is super worried, obviously, about her best friend for years. She can't eat, she doesn't have much of an appetite, which is completely normal. But Min-hyuk says if you starve, so will I. Not a good tactic. Feels a bit manipulative, although he doesn't necessarily have like other toxic traits. It's kind of weird when he's in a relationship and he's kind of saying, if you don't do this, then I will also not do this. It just becomes like, I don't know, a bit unhealthy for me. I don't like that. He also does some other things that I'll talk about now, which is that he refuses to leave Bong when she's changed to a bomb. When it detonates, they will both die. Although she's the only one that's chained to it, he waits outside the door and says he won't leave, and it definitely would have like killed him too when it went off. She is crying, begging him to leave and that he wouldn't die just because like she's there, and he's like, no, like I will die with you. That is not helping the situation. You are making her more upset, more frustrated. Imagine if they did die and her last emotional reactions and thoughts were all just about him being selfish and being like, oh no, I can't survive without you. You can survive without this woman that you met like a few weeks, a few months ago. Hate it when people do that. Yes, it seems kind of cute when they're like, oh my god, I died for you, but in reality that's very distressing and it only makes the situation worse. She begged the universe to give her powers back just to save him, not even for herself. Luckily it did oblige. Spoiler. Another bad thing is Min-hyuk overreacts when he hears that Guk-do and Bong-sun had a hug. They've been friends for ages. Although Guk-do does like Bong-sun and Bong-sun did like Guk-do at one point, this is not a romantic hug. This is a friendly hug, and nothing else would suggest that it was nefarious. They were in public. It wasn't like it was hidden or that they were cheating or anything like that. But instead of talking to her about it, Min-hyuk calls Guk-do out, and he kind of like tells him to stay away from her, and he's like very mad about it. And I think it would have gone much more smooth if he just talked to Bong-sun and shared his worries, and then she could have reassured him, but he did not do that. Another bad thing is Min-hyuk says to Bong-sun's dad, you know that feeling that I exist only when she does and I don't if she doesn't. This is again a very exaggerated version of the oh I die without you mentality. As I said earlier, he wouldn't die without her. Maybe if he was like some weird unstable guy, but I think it's kind of a bad thing to say, especially to her parent. Like, maybe he thinks that's what he wants to hear, but I genuinely think that this is Min-hyuk's way of thinking, because he only really has Bong-sun as like a personal like protector. That's kind of been the only person that's been consistently with him and helping him through all of his struggles. So I can see why he'd be so very attached to her, but it's just a really bad idea to weigh your life depending on someone else's. It gets very unhealthy, I'd say. Overall, I would say that Min-hyuk and Bong-sun have a reasonably healthy relationship, but I do think that there's definitely room for improvement. Of course, this is, I think they're both of their first proper relationships, so it's understandable how they might be feeling very intense right now, and it may die down later, but as it's shown in the show, it's unrealistic and a bit toxic. So the next topic is on police corruption / just police in general. So they have a light touch on corruption. Guk-do is called a lunatic and peculiar because he's not a dirty cop. He had to apologise and drop charges because the criminal that he arrested was a congressman, which is shown a lot actually in other K-dramas that I've watched. There's double standards, and the higher-ups even demote him to a lower team so that he wouldn't cause any more problems for powerful people that were doing bad things. Guk-do's new team are actually much better, and they share the mentality of like, let's not be dirty, let's actually do our jobs in a good way, and not just turn a blind eye just because somebody is rich or powerful. So they continue searching for the kidnapper even when the higher-ups tell them not to, because they want the case closed so it's easier for them. When they do eventually catch the kidnapper, the higher-ups obviously say, oh, like that was because of us, like we did such a great job. They take responsibility for that, which is just typical. Min-hyuk doesn't at first trust police because his dad did some criminal things, and either through the police being incompetent or being bribed by him, he wasn't ever charged with anything, so he got away with that, and Min-hyuk saw, and that led to him being less trustful with the police. But he does later on see that Guk-do is such a good cop, and he's really doing his best, and he wants to catch bad guys, and he says to a woman that got in a car accident when he was around that she should go to the police, and he recommends that because he trusts them more, and he does admit the good dude personally is a good cop, which is a great progression there. Of course, there could have been more focus on this police stuff, but if you look into the next drama, Strong Girl Nam Soon, there is more focus on police and kind of corruption there. The next point is the mum. I specifically made this category for her because I had so much to say, and I so much focused on this mother because she was such an interesting woman, and not in a good way. So she is unfashionable, which is the first thing that I noticed about her. This is probably because they want to reflect that she's not quite like a good person. They want to show her as distasteful because that's how her character is. Obviously it might just be like a random thing, but I think that's probably what they did there because her personality is quite ugly for the most part. She is jealous, violent, aggressive, and favours Bong because he's apparently weaker and needs more care. But I think that's because she's jealous that Bong still has her power. She also assumes the worst of Bong and that she will also abuse her power and therefore lose it because that's what she did when she was younger. She also does comfort Bong when she temporarily loses her powers and is briefly a good mum. She says that she'll start looking after her now, but only because she lost her powers. I think if things were kept the same, she probably wouldn't have done anything about it. Bong does confront her mother and asks her why she is so favourable to Bong when they are both women, and she shouldn't favour like the son between them. And after this, the mum does cool down a bit and she apologises. She says she'll take care of her, but this is at the same time that Bong loses her powers. So I'm wondering if that's the real reason why she kind of backed off for a bit. However, Bong does have a rich boyfriend now and she has a job, so she's probably less likely now to think bad of her. She'll probably give her a bit more care now that she's a bit more proud of her. I think that the mum also wants to live vicariously through Bong because she always convinces Bong that she needs a rich husband to have a good life, also a good job, neither of which does she have. She tells Bong that she should actively pursue Min-hyuk even when she thinks that he is gay, just because he's rich and handsome, by the way. And she encourages her to dress more sexy to attract a man. Bong mum has super unrealistic expectations of Bong to have a really good job and a really good husband, and when she doesn't fulfill this expectation, she becomes a disappointment to her. Overall, the mum does have a little bit of an arc at the end, but not enough for me to get convinced that she is actually a good person somewhat. The next topic is the upper class, which we only focus on briefly here, as in the drama. So Min-hyuk only works 2 days a week, apparently, according to his employees, which shows the difference between, you know, working class people having to be in every day for so many hours, getting minimum wage, and they're always poor, and then Min-hyuk is super rich, living his best life, always shopping all the time and having fun. To be fair, I'm sure he did a lot of work when he first set up the company. It took him a lot to get there, and now he can relax a bit. But a lot of people don't have that privilege, even if they work very hard. They might have to do that throughout their whole entire lives. He also says to Bong don't you know my life is more important than yours? Now, I don't know how much of a joke that is. I feel like it's coming from a place of I'm rich and privileged, and you are a poor employee, and therefore you don't matter as much, which is seen so much like in office setting dramas. Here it was just kind of a throwaway comment, so I'm not sure how much he truly believes that, because obviously he falls in love with her and he protects her later, so I'm not sure how much that matters for anything, but it's kind of a mentality that is passed along around the upper class. Another thing is Min-hyuk's traditionally messy family. They all want his dad's money, except Min-hyuk himself, because he has his own, he doesn't really like his dad, and he has his own company. The brothers want to inherit the dad's company because he's soon retiring, and they have this massive dinner to announce the heir. It's a big ordeal over inheritance, and Min-hyuk even gets blackmailed by his favourite brother because of that. His brother was the only person in his family that he could trust. All of his other brothers and his parents were not trustworthy at all and very mean to him. And this one brother that he thought he could count on is the one that literally just blackmailed him and made him upset, called him in the middle of the night, sent weirdos around his house pretending they were going to kill him. And then he didn't really seem that much remorseful, even when Min-hyuk confronted him about that. This shows how different, I guess, the upper class is, and even though obviously they have a lot of privileges, they also have their own problems, which are mostly about money. Surprise, surprise. But it does suck for Min Hyuk, and I can see that he's not that type of person. The next topic that I'll be focusing on is sexuality. So of course most of the relationships and people that we see are heterosexual, as they normally are in Asian dramas. It's fine, there is obviously progression happening, as seen like Itaewon class and a lot of like BLs and GLs. So they're relatively healthy. Bong is described as sexy by Min Hyuk for being bold, assertive and powerful, which shows a progression of gender and how that affects relationships, making them therefore more healthy and less about power. Min Hyuk is flirtatious. Bongsun's mum discusses sex with Bongsun openly, if a bit too openly. Then for the homosexual characters, so they think Min Hyuk is gay because he has a female bodyguard. Crazy. Because she is his bodyguard because she has superhuman strength, and they know that, her family know that, and yet they're still like, oh my god, why would he ever choose you? Possibly because she's the strongest person on the planet. Also, even if he did have a female bodyguard that wasn't like super strength girly, then it still wouldn't mean that he was gay. Maybe he just found her like relatively strong, or maybe he just wanted her to have an opportunity. Also, they think that he's gay because he likes shopping and he's into fashion. Not every gay man is into that, and not every straight man can't be into that, which is evidence here because Min Hyuk, surprise surprise, is not gay, or at least he does like women, because he dates the main character later on. He has style and he's handsome and he's single, and therefore people are like, oh well, he must be gay. But if he was gay and all of those things, he would definitely have a boyfriend, let me tell you. When Bongsun tells her mum that Min Hyuk is gay, she says, that's alright, no one's perfect these days, and urges her to continue pursuing him. Well, she wasn't at that point because she thought he was gay, but she was like, yeah, I think you should go ahead and try to get this man who doesn't like women, even though you're a woman. And that makes sense. Not really how it goes in modern society. Yeah, before, men would have accepted women as their wives because they would be like, oh, I'm gonna be like murdered if, you know, I'm gay openly. But it's different now, so I really don't think that he'd have any reason to do that. Although it still is kind of conservative in like Asian places and a lot of places in the world still, which is unfortunate. Another thing is, when Bongsun stays at Min Hyuk's, she says, he's gay. If I considered a man, I wouldn't be staying here like this. Yes, he might have been gay, he might like men, but that doesn't make him less of a man. It doesn't affect your gender no matter what your sexuality is. That doesn't make any sense, but sure, why not? Some other characters who aren't canonically confirmed but are almost definitely gay are Min Hyuk's secretary and Mr. O. The secretary is Mask and Mr. O is Fem, and I would have loved to see these two together. They're very different in terms of how they present themselves and how their gayness works, how fruity they are, but they're definitely fruity. They're definitely fruity. They get so jealous of Bongsun being anywhere near Min Hyuk because he is a hot bitch. Shit, I wasn't supposed to swear. Oh well. Then also, they were just looking out for each other, and I think the secretary even fed Mr. O, which was so cute. I liked it, and all the people that were working there were like, and honestly, give me. So the next topic is miscellaneous. They show some bullying within high school. There's a bit of coverage of that. Bongsun deals with that whenever she sees it, and she even offers like advice to the person that she was protecting. She makes sure to tell them to reach out to her if they ever need protecting again. She tells him that he should definitely go to university, otherwise he'll have a really hard life, which to be honest is kind of true, but also, whether you go to uni or not, whether you have experience or not, it's going to be always hard to find a job. So yes, it might increase his chances, but I think there's this big ass mentality in, like, especially like Asian places, in Korean dramas that I've seen, that if you go to university, you get a good degree, if you get good grades, you'll be fine, you'll get a good job and you'll earn lots of money. This is not true. Yes, it might make you more likely, but you're definitely not like guaranteed a really good job just because you studied a lot and were good at it, which is very unfortunate but also very true. So there's also Bong having such ease with getting her like dream job. Basically, to get her dream job of like working in the video game industry, she had to start out being a bodyguard, which is very, very realistic because you can like climb the ladder. It didn't take her that long though, probably because they were dating and he really liked her and he was like, yeah, go for a bit. But unless you have like muscle hypertrophy syndrome or a superpower, you're probably not gonna get like shoved into any job that you want. Or unless you're really lucky, or you can count on nepotism. But aside from that, it's not going to be that easy to find a job, unfortunately. The humour in the show is enjoyable. The two memorable scenes for me are when the gangster drinks tongsul, which is a feces wine. I just found that really funny, for obvious reasons, because I'm a child. The second one is when Bong is protecting the victim. She says to the bullies, if she ever catches them again, it will be their feet, then their legs, and then what comes next. Her cheeky smile is adorable, and I found the scene very hilarious. The new generation disrespect is also shown, as the bullies are rude and aggressive to Bong and Kyung-shin. Also, Bong mum and her friends refer to each other by their child's name, mum. So like they'd call Bong mum literally Bong mum, even though they are friends and they know each other's names. I don't personally know Bong mum's name, but that's because she's not someone that I care about that much. Yeah, but I do think it's typical with K-dramas because I see that a lot, especially in high school centered ones. They always just refer to the mum by their child's name. And I find that odd, but maybe it's a cultural thing and that's why I don't get it. Probably is. Overall, I really like the drama. It's cute and fun, and it's a staple of K-dramas. If you watch K-dramas, you know about Strong Girl Bong. That's the end of the story. The soundtrack was great. It's so catchy. I think my two favourite songs were Every Single Day, Superpower Girl, and You're My Garden, Jung Eunji. Then also it's a modern twist classic rom-com. It's highly recommended, and if you've watched this point, I've already spoiled everything, but you can go and rewatch it because it's amazing. As compared to Strong Girl Namsoon, I'd say that I much prefer it, just because I find it much more cute, much more fun to watch. Strong Girl Namsoon kind of goes more into like the police kind of heavy topics, which I'm okay with, obviously, because I watched it and I enjoyed that one too. And if you enjoy kind of heavier, less cheesy stuff, then you'd enjoy that. Of course, it does have like a lot of comedy in it still, which is very enjoyable, but I'd say overall I definitely prefer Strong Girl Bong. Maybe because it's a K-drama classic and that's where I started, but I'm sure you'll feel the same. You would have started somewhere along there too. If not Boys Over Flowers, which by the way is awful, and I don't think that I can put myself through that, so I won't be making a video of that. I'm sorry. But yes, I hope you enjoy it and go and rewatch it because it's a really good show. Thank you, bye.